Hello, everyone. It's good to be here. We'll just wait for a minute before we get started. I can see five people on the live already, so that's good. Happy. Awesome. So I think we can get started. So, hi, LinkedIn community. Welcome to a special live session today where we deep dive into the Rendanheyi Masterclass Learning and Applying Hires model of organizing. I'm Shruti Prakash. I'm going to be co hosting this AMA session, and I'm thrilled to have Emmanuel with us. Emmanuel is the partner and 3EO micro enterprise lead here at Boundaryless. He is also the creator of the Human Organization Map with extensive experience introducing new organizational models such as sociocracy and holacracy in large organizations. He is also the facilitator for the Rendanheyi Masterclass, and so there's no one better to take up this AMA with and learn more about Rendanheyi itself. As most of you know, at Boundaryless, we work hard to create open source frameworks for platform design and entrepreneurial organizational development programs and support a global community of organizations, institutions, and individuals through our workshops, training, and consulting services. We hope at this forefront, which we've been at for over a decade now, and I'm excited to be a part of this journey and help you with some of the questions that you might have. And with today, we are specifically here to talk about Rendanheyi, and I'm excited to have this chat with Emmanuel as well. Before we get started, I'd also like to quickly share with you the agenda so you get a quick brief on what we're going to be discussing about today. So let me share my screen and take you through the agenda quickly. Yeah, so I hope all of you can see the agenda which is being presented on the screen. If not, I will also share the link of the presentation itself on the chat box and you can see it. But I'll quickly run you through the agenda as well. So the first section, we are going to be going through understanding what Rendanheyi is. So introduction to the topic, its principles, its main organizational artifacts, and so on. The next 10 minutes, we want to talk about the masterclass itself. So understanding what the Rendanheyi masterclass is, what are the goals, its topics, format, who is it designed for, and so on. And we also have a surprise of a special discount code for the community. And the last few minutes, ideally, we would like to have questions from all of you. And if you have any reflections, thoughts, or clarifications that you might want about Rendanheyi or the masterclass itself, this can be asked in the last section of this conversation. So do stay on and you can ask any of the questions that you have, right? So it will be great. And with that, let's get started into the topic itself. So, Emmanuel, maybe you can start with a quick introduction about you and about Rendanheyi.
Thank you so much, Rudy. Nice to be here, and nice to meet all of our friends on LinkedIn. I spent the last 20 years working mostly in large, complex organizations with a couple of goals. On one side, helping them to achieve their objectives, but at the same time, making those places more welcoming for the people inside them. So making organization more humane, more egoistic, more adaptive, more powerful, and lately also more entrepreneurial. And this brings us to to today's session and to the Rendanheyi here at Boundaryless. We believe that the Rendanheyi, as we will see, is probably today the most progressive organizational model in the market when it comes to being adaptive on one side and putting human beings at the center, whether that means customers or employees. Actually, what the Rendanheyi means is connecting every employee to every customer to generate and share value together. So I feel the Rendanheyi is really much in line with my own journey of consulting across the globe.
Thank you. Thanks. That really helps to get us started. So I'll ask you the main question for today, right, Emmanuel, for our listeners who might be new to the concept itself. If you can take us through what Rendanheyi is, what it means, that will be really helpful. I'll also share my screen and we can start from there.
And for all of our friends online on LinkedIn, the purpose of this conversation is to give you the space to react, but also
Mhm.
to ask questions. Today, we are only going to give you the one slider of the Rendanheyi. So to know
Mhm.
more, you may consider joining us in December in the masterclass. But I expect some reactions already today. So let me give you the quick version of the story just to establish a bit of a common language about the Renani. And surely, if we can go in full screen, I think that would help to
Yeah.
read the.
Yeah, this is on full screen mode right now.
Because I see if you can click on the bottom, I think it is already. Is it already on the full screen?
Yeah, on my side it's on full screen now. Yes.
Okay, so let me check if I can share it
Yeah. Yeah.
on my. You should stop sharing,
Sure. Sure.
please. Let's see if I can put it in. Yeah.
Sure. I'll also meanwhile share the link of the presentation itself on the chat, so that will also help our listeners.
Are you able to see it in full screen?
Yeah, I can see it on full screen. Yes.
Okay. So this is the brief version of what the
Mhm.
Renane is. So as I said, the Renane is the organizational model.
Mhm.
Actually, it's a convergence of a business transformation and an organizational transformation that our group, the white
Mhm.
good appliance leader, went through for the last 40 years. What we
Mhm.
see here, it's in one picture, is really the synthesis of this transformation, the last incarnation of what the organizational models looks like. And there are really
Mhm.
three main concepts. The first concept is this idea of unbundling a huge, complex, multi-country, multi-product organization into a network of micro enterprises. Micro
Mhm.
enterprises are not squads, are not circles, are not teams, are not even agile teams, are really small companies in the sense that they
Mhm.
have a distinct profit and loss responsibility. So they take care about the revenues they generate, but also the cost they have to sustain. And they have three rights: the right to pick their strategy, to decide what they want to do, the right to pick their own people, so the team members they want to have, and the right of sharing value with the team, so sharing money, sharing the results of their action. The purpose of the micro enterprise and the Renane is to fight organizational debt and technological debt, scouting the market, looking for new opportunities or looking for internal areas of improvement, and building new products and services to propel the organization towards the future. So they are small companies with lots of freedom, lots of accountability, in which salaries, the salaries of their people, are paid essentially by the market. Because the Renane is a market based model, a model that mimics the functioning of the market within the organization to fight bureaucracy. In IR itself, and company with 80,000 people, there are 4,000 micro enterprises. Most of them are providing internal services, node micro enterprises. Some of them, 300 in higher China, are user micro enterprises in the sense that they expose their services directly to the consumers or to external customers. But the micro enterprise is not the only concept. The micro enterprises actually can compete. The second level is the level of the ecosystem microcommunity. The ecosystem microcommunity is, technically speaking, not an organizational unit, it's a contract. It's a way for microenterprises to collaborate, to come together, to agree on the outcomes that they want to generate together, that they cannot achieve in isolation, and also to agree on the services that they are going to exchange. At the same time, by achieving this ecosystemic, that's why they are called the ecosystem microcommunities, this ecosystemic goal for the market, they're going to share the value that they are going to generate. So there is this contract, it's called the EMC contract, in which different micro enterprises are selected. They agree on the services they exchange, they agree on the ecosystemic target, and they agree also on how they are going to share the value. An example could be a smart home EMC. There are many examples. U-vaccine, so a way to provide vaccines to the population, even through external organizations, because IR is not producing vaccines, is an example. The third level is the level that guarantees a bit of consistency and coherence and economy of scale to the model. And it's the level of the platforms. There are two types of platforms in the Rendanheyi. The first one are shared service platforms. Shared service platforms are an attempt to push market forces onto functional units. So think about HR, think about finance, think about IT. This is where usually legal, this is usually where the bureaucracy is hidden in the organization. Where as a business owner, you have to go to get your own services, and often you have to wait because the team is maxed out, because there are other priorities, because you don't get the answer that you like to get at the speed you like to have. Now, even functional units feel pressure from the market, so they have to deliver value. They need to make their internal clients happy. So a shared service platform is a collection of microenterprises in a specific functional area. So in DHR, you may have an HR tech microenterprise, or you may have a recruiting HR microenterprise, and so on. So even these large services become entrepreneurial. They have to give value for the money. The second type of platform are industry platforms. In this case, the attempt is to open up the strategy, to see the strategy as a portfolio of different bets on which the organization is investing. So in higher, these bets could be the Internet of Food, the smart home, cultural transformation, and so on. So these are high priority areas that are decided by the board of the organization. And there are sort of portfolios of micro enterprises and EMCs that want to create new services and products into those areas. There is no hierarchical relationship among any of these units. So the industry platform will invite through investments, not to command and control micro enterprises and EMCs to do their work, to innovate or to improve the services, but the industry platform cannot command micro enterprises to do that. They will negotiate the conditions for the investment with the micro enterprises through another contract that is called the VAM, Valuation Adjustment Mechanism. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying is that a monolithic organization with tens of thousands of people becomes much more like a living system with thousands of actors that sense the market, that sense internal needs, that build new solutions and new answers to those needs, and that orchestrate themselves as peers through contracts. The platforms are the way to guarantee the enabling constraints, that minimum viable consistency and structure that will guarantee that we still have a company and not just anarchy, and not just a set of fully independent, autonomous, and sometimes competing actors. So there's one question behind the Rendanheyi. The question is, what do you need to centralize? What do you need to decentralize to guarantee at the same time coherence and consistency, but also the speed, the innovation, the adaptivity, the employee engagement that the market that we are living into today demands? So that's in a nutshell. Of course, the masterclass will give you many more details, examples, and also the tools to build these artifacts for your own organization. But these are the three main concepts of the Rendanheyi. At the end, it's not so complex.
I think it's definitely a way to tackle the complexity, right? I remember reading Rendanheyi for the first time as well through Boundaryless, and it was extremely interesting. So I'd like to ask you maybe a little bit about the masterclass itself, right? So Can you maybe walk us through what the masterclass is going to look like now that we have a bit of a better understanding of Rendanheyi? To understand the masterclass itself will be helpful to see how maybe what are the learnings that I might have attending the program.
Sure. And I would like to remember to our friends online, if you have questions,
Yeah,
prepare your questions because we are going to address them
yeah,
in the time that we have today. What's the goal of the masterclass? Well, the goal of the masterclass, and this is coming, the next one is coming in December, is to spend actually 4 half days together. So we're going to have quite a bit of time to do what? To look at how we arrived to this concept of the Renanei, because this didn't happen overnight. It has been a transformation from a company on the brink of bankruptcy towards an ecosystemic networked organization, probably the most successful model and example today that is being studied as we speak by more than 600,000 companies in the world. So we are going to go into the story. We are going to go into the principles, the cultural underpinnings of all of this, and especially we are going to go into the specific ideas and solutions hidden into each one of these artifacts. For example, profit sharing, or people allocation, or ownership, or we are going to see what a VAM is, what an EMC looks like. In a sense, the goal is not so much to transfer notions, but to empower the people that will attend the masterclass to take some of these ideas and to apply pragmatically these ideas in their own organization, also mixing the RNA with other frameworks, with other experiments, with other tools. Only yesterday, we published an article comparing the RNA to SAFe, to the Scale Agile framework. So you see, many of our clients are actually using the RNA in connection with Holacracy, in connection with Sociocracy, in connection with SAFe, in connection with VSM. So our goal with the masterclass is to help organizations that are not in India, that don't have the chairman Jean Grimin, the CEO philosopher that actually has been creating all of these in the last 40 years in Hire. They don't have Jean Grimin to adopt and to tweak some of these ideas in different industries, in different geographies, in different countries. So we are going to do that with canvases. As you know, in Boundaryless, we give most of our content for free online in open source. So we are going to look at the canvases. We are going to work on concrete examples of micro enterprises and EMCs. We're going to look at the transformation, so how to get there in line with complexity and in line with complex adaptive systems as well, because we believe that the RNA is the best implementation nowadays about complex adaptive systems. And we are going to take lessons from our own consulting experience, so experience with clients in different parts of the world. So if you want to know more, in addition to the time that we are going to have today, there is a link here in this slide, https blss.io 30 masterclass, and there's a code. So you will get 25% discount. You can bring your ideas for micro enterprises and all of your dApps, if you have them, and join other practitioners. This is a masterclass for managers on one side, executives, but also for consultants, for researchers, and for people that want to unlock the human potential and the customer centricity in their own organization. So, and that's what we are going to do and what we are going to discuss with like-minded individuals.
Just to interject there, Emmanuel. So, is there any, let's say, field of study that the participants have to come from? Do they have to have particular backgrounds or skills or levels of expertise that they need to sort of follow in order to gain from this experience of the Rendanheyi Masterclass?
So this is a question that initially we had. Is
Mm-hmm.
this going to work only for huge behemoths, incumbents, or is this also for startups? Is this only for organization design specialists or for managers? I think that all of them will find value. We are working with scale ups, with startups or companies going through M&As that want to see the organization not as a monolith, but as a galaxy of different acquisitions. We're working with startups creating multiple products, and at the same time, we are working with leaders in the banking, into the manufacturing sector, for example, into the healthcare, that want to unbundle, that want to decouple the organization and to fight the bureaucracy then in the organization. So it works with different, let's say, strategies in different kinds of organizations. It takes, I think, only one requirement: being clear about how working in an organization looks like, and a bit of the limitations that you will have. I don't know, in my experience, so sometimes it's very frustrating to work, especially in huge organizations, but also in small organizations, because it's difficult to have the freedom, the motivation, the upsides, the space to make a dent in the universe. Well, that's the topic that we are going to address: how to maintain an organization, but empowering everybody to make a dent in the universe.
That's motivating to know as well. I think, I mean, we all seek to create impact. So definitely it is motivating to know that. As the presentation also says, right, like this is one of the official training programs that is provided by the Higher Model Research Institute. So maybe it would be good for our listeners to know more on that as well.
Yeah, let's say we are not coming up ourselves with all of this. We are lucky enough
Mm-hmm.
to being able to work with the higher, and especially Higher Model Research Institute for the last 4 years. I was in China 1 month ago, and I was in London actually yesterday to meet Mr. Jiang Ruimin. So what we have learned from Higher, and thanks to Higher, and we are up to date with Higher, and we collaborate with them. So let's say we are the vehicle for letting other people in other parts of the world, in other contexts, to learn about the Rendanheyi. So what you will get on top of the knowledge and the opportunity to meet a community of like-minded people and to practice the Rendanheyi in your own context is, yes, a certificate for being a certified practitioner of the Rendanheyi. And I think this is valuable because right now, many organizations are at least studying the Rendanheyi, and many of them are struggling to understand the details of how to apply it. So yes, that's one of the outcomes of the masterclass, thanks to Aya.
Got it. That helps. And I just want to remind our listeners as well, in case you all have any questions on the masterclass itself or on Rendanheyi, please do comment on the LinkedIn Live. While you all do that, I think I'll also like you, Emmanuel, to touch upon a little bit of the structure of the masterclass itself. So, how does it happen? Is it an online program?
Yeah.
What are the kind of, let's say, hours that the participants have to dedicate and so on?
So the masterclass, as I was saying, is going to be from the 5th of December to the 8th of December. So it's roughly 1 month from now. It starts at 1:30 and ends at 5:30 CET. And so it's 4 half days, and it's a synchronous event. It's an online event uh, in which those that will attend will be contacted for a bit of preparation in terms of free readings, in terms of working on some cases, and working in groups. So you will meet other people, you will be part of a group, and you will be given exercises through our open source canvases to apply the concepts of the Rendanheyi. So we'll look at how to create a micro enterprise, concretely speaking, how to create an EMC, uh, how to work also on an industry platforms, and what's the role of the industry platforms, how to sign a VAM, and we are going to see also a bit of the process of evolution of micro enterprises until they become separate entities. And finally, we are going to look at the transformation process, at least how we learn to do it with real companies in Boundaryless. Boundaryless today is probably the organization with the largest experience in applying the Rendanheyi in the world. So thanks to our clients, in the last few years, we have accumulated lots of knowledge about what works and what works a bit less, let's say. And we have put together a bit of lessons and let's say strategies, transition strategies for helping other organizations to embrace and to tweak and to adapt and to adopt the Rendanheyi to their specific reality. So that's what we are going to do. It's going to be a very pragmatico masterclass, a very community-based masterclass, funny but also an intense masterclass. So prepare. This is not going to be something you will sleep over, something you get bored about. It will
Mm-hmm.
be. You'll need a bit of brain power to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
But in my experience, it will transform how you see
Yeah.
organizations and will transform what you can imagine to achieve by living in
Mm-hmm.
organizations and by managing organizations.
Awesome. Thank you. So we do have a couple of questions on
Please.
the LinkedIn Live itself. So the first one, I think you did touch upon a bit, but um, how are Rendanheyi and Hire connected? So someone
Yeah.
has asked that, it'll be helpful.
So if you want, the Rendanheyi is the byproduct of 40 years of transformation, and actually it's the last step of many transformations Ayer went through. In 1982, what today we call Ayer, was really a municipality in which products didn't work, that wasn't able to intercept the needs of the market, in which people, employees were disengaged. So the situation was a bit dramatic. And this director called Jean Grimin jumped in and said, we have to change things. Actually, he invited his colleagues in the hall, gave them hammers, and asked them to smash fridges. And a fridge at that point costed 2 years of a Chinese salary. That was the signal to say, we have to do something different. If we don't do that, the market is going to destroy us. So starting from that, I went through business transformations, organizational transformations, also management transformations to become, first of all, a matrix, then to become an inverted pyramid, then to become a network, then to become an ecosystem organization. So Hire has codified, let's say, and it's still evolving. Everything is in flux. This model, and then this model has been shared through books, through our work with the rest of the world. And what I can say is that there are not two implementations that are the same in the world. So each company is taking a bit of the Rendanheyi, infusing its own culture, its own DNA, its own expectation, its own values into the Rendanheyi, and changing it to fit with their business, with their maturity, with their people. So the Rendanheyi, if you want, is a sort of a philosophy more than a model. What we do by empowering people joining the masterclass, but also through our consulting projects, is starting from this philosophy and then co-creating a unique, let's say, suit tailored for each organization, which you may keep something, you may discard something else, you can mix something else that you have. So in a nutshell, the Rendanheyi is the byproduct of this evolution, but is also the starting point for the evolution of other organizations.
Got it. That helps. I think the modularity of it, like you explained at the end, right, that makes this all the more exciting. So I'll go on to the next question. Patricia first asked if we can share the article on comparing Rendenhai with SAFE. So I'll do that. I will share it in the comment section right after
Yeah.
the live as well. The next question was how autonomous are the micro enterprises, the MEs, and are there any federal or shared responsibilities within this?
So the micro enterprises are as autonomous as you can imagine. Again, it's not a team. When you become a micro enterprise leader or even a micro enterprise team member, you're going to feel a bit of pressure because you are going to be responsible basically for everything. So you're going to be responsible for your numbers, you're going to be responsible for your decisions, you're going to be paid by your own results, not by hire or not by your own company, but by the outcomes, the value that you generate on the market. And there is this mechanism of negotiation between the micro enterprise and the industry platform that is a bit like going to a VC with your own idea, so pitching for your own idea. So you have total freedom about the idea you want to pitch. There is a format that you can follow, the VAM. So there are some, if you want questions, you need to address. Questions are, for example, what kind of returns you're going to generate for the micro enterprise, what kind of returns you're going to generate for the ecosystem overall, what kind of investments you need because the company is going to help you to get the resources you need, and also how you're going to share some of these results with your own team. So the format is given, but the answers are up to you. So you need to understand the market, you need to figure out the services, you need to pitch this proposition to the industry platform. You're going to negotiate it. You're going to negotiate what Ayer calls the leading targets, so stretchy targets. And when you get the green light, well, you will become the CEO of the company, the micro enterprise. And this is what Mr. Jiang Guimin keeps saying. We want every employee to be is or around CEO. So there is plenty of freedom. The only things that you cannot do in isolation, let's say, are those that we define the enabling constraints. So those that somehow are represented by industry platforms. So there are some more than rules, some principles, some boundaries that you have to embrace. An example is maybe you cannot have your own brand, so you're part of Hire, but you cannot come up with a new brand. Maybe in the case of Hire, there is a universal basic income, so all employees have a basic income that again gets integrated by the results of the micro enterprise employees are part of. In other contexts, what we have seen is that competition is not considered in line with the values of the firm. So you could do it, but this specific company doesn't want to do it. Or another enabling constraint is the forcing function that you're going to use. In Hire, profit is really important, but there are other examples. Make is one, Zappos is another one, in which profit has been one of the dimensions, one of the goals, but employee satisfaction and customer satisfaction has been other two beacons, let's say. So you had to balance this trinity of outcomes, infusing a different dynamics and different feeling into the firm. So there's this uh, what we really call this minimum viable structure, minimum viable constraints that you want to establish as a firm to guarantee a minimum of coherence into the firm, as there is not, I would say, messy coherence, but within that broad space, well, the micro enterprise has plenty of freedom to do its own job, to innovate, and to benefit from it.
I think just to further take that point, right? I think one more question that we got was, does Rendanheyi have to be applied, let's say, as one big bang, as a brand new, structure,
No.
RDH structure, or can it be applied incrementally?
That's really a good question. So, if you are
Mhm.
in China and your CEO is called Jiang Guimin, well, maybe you can attempt to do it in one stop. But For the rest of us, I would say that the the most effective approach is really an adaptive and iterative approach, because the Renani is quite far from everything I think 99% of the companies in the West have seen. So there is a mindset problem. You need to transform incentivation systems. You need to transform technological systems. You need to evolve culture. You need to evolve processes. You need to convince the people that this is doable. You need to convince the market that this is doable. So there are as many challenges that you can imagine. So what we believe is that being an example of complexity in action, the only way is to use probes. So the only way is to structure an evolution process made of pilots. And those pilots, again, in line with the result that we want to have, the result is a portfolio of micro enterprises. Well, the process should be a portfolio of experiments through which you can, at one level, define the first micro enterprises, trying to generate quick wins, so trying to generate value for the market immediately. But the second objective, the second level, is also letting this model emerge from the practice instead of imposing a framework from the top, as many organizations have done and many consulting companies have done in the past. For the very simple reason that we don't know what the model will be. You are going to have your unique model, and actually that model will keep evolving all of the time. And let me give you an example here. In higher China, the contact with the market for product teams is within product teams. So each product can talk with the market. When you look at what GEA, General Electric Appliances, so the part of GE that Haier acquired in the US does, well, they have a shared service platform that does sales for many reasons. So it's a different implementation of the model. Which one is best? We don't know. On one side, you have more a stronger entrepreneurial attitude and quicker contact with the market, more autonomy for the micro enterprises, but maybe a bit more confusion for the market. On the other side, you have a trade-off. You have more centralization, maybe some delays, a bit more bureaucracy, but more consistency and a reassuring approach for the client. So which one is best? It depends, let's say. So there are some decisions that you have to take based on who you are and what you want to achieve and where you are in your own journey. Except for that, well, it's all experimentation, and even these principles have to be validated through the practice.
Got it. Yeah. And another question that came in, right, was what CSFs have you seen? I think that means the critical success factors, right? So have you seen any water points to sort of watch out for as well?
Oh, that's a tough one. Thank you. I don't know. Well, I think, say, I don't believe in religions, but I would say you need a bit of faith in this case, because at the beginning it's very tough. Very often, when we start talking about the Rendanheyi with executives, the first reaction is, "You must be crazy." I become CEO because I've been controlling and planning and budgeting and telling people what to do, and now you're asking me to release control, to empower thousands of people to act as entrepreneurs, to remove middle managers, to let them decide their pay based on their results, maybe having flat teams without managers. Well, this is scary. So, in one sense, I think the two requirements is being open-minded, especially the internal influencers, the decision makers should understand what we are talking about. And this is tough at the beginning. It's not easy to understand. That's why we do the masterclass. It takes time, really. Um, the second pre-requirement is being open enough to experiment, not deciding before. And maybe you can conclude that the Renani doesn't work for you for many reasons, but it takes experimentation. And in my experience, if you really experiment with an open mind, eventually you're going to trick the Rendanheyi to your own specific context, and it will work and it will generate amazing results. So Haier is growing double digit in every European market, even during COVID. I think they did 61% plus 61% in Germany 2020, and probably 50 something percent in Italy. And they have acquired Sanyo, they have acquired the Candy Uber. So it's going, and growing everywhere. So it works. Fujitsu embraced Renanei and doubled the revenues in the units that embraced it. So the results are going to be there, but there is a bit of a shock. So as a program manager, as a CEO, as a board, you need to accept and you need to hold the space for this experimentation to happen, and you need to understand the reason why, but also the technicalities of this transformation. And I would say at this point, this is not yet mainstream. This is not for everybody.
Yeah, I think you actually also answered his next question as well, which is that Rendenhai might have worked in the case of Hire because they did have, let's say, a chairman who was pro innovation, pro, methods of um, trying and testing out, let's say, new methods, right? So, sorry if you heard a noise. Sorry. Yeah. So, I think you touched upon that quite well, right? So that really helps. Um,
But this is
I
not, that's an important point. So Hire, okay, you would say, well,
yeah.
Hire it's one. Okay, it's one, but it's in manufacturing, it's in China, it's 80,000 people. But that's not the only one. We have examples in Thailand, Make. We have examples now in India and in Germany, Bosch. We have example in healthcare. We have example now in manufacturing in Europe. I think there are examples of Fujitsu professional services. There are examples gaming industries that rewarded as one of the best implementations. So we have examples of small and large organizations in any sector, in any country, and all of them are a bit different. Again, to give you an example, gummy industry, they are from Brescia, a small city in the north of Italy. 80 people. Well, Fabrizio Martire, the co-CEO of the company, after the masterclass, reached out and told me, we have done it. What? Yeah, we have done everything that you shared in the masterclass in 6 months. So they are a small company, but in 6 months they've done it. And the business really improved, but especially the CEOs and founders went from being the bosses of the organization to become, the incubators, the facilitators of many younger colleagues that are not into economics, they are not into organization design, to become, as they call it, the chefs of their kitchens. So they have tweaked, the model to an Italian taste. We love food, we love going out. So they have a food market, they have chefs, they have restaurants, and they have even created the first spin-off flatmates. So again, this is happening everywhere. It's a matter of courage. It's a matter of experimentation. It doesn't take junk remain. It takes a journey and a bit of patience and a bit of investment, especially energy, to do it. But if you want to distribute innovation, if you want to empower your people to do what they love doing, well, I think this is the answer.
Thank you. So, I think some, let's say, um, questions in terms of definition, right? So, we did get two questions on what does RDH stand for and mean, and what BAM stands for.
Sorry, which one is the first one, VAM, and the other?
BAM and RDH. RDH, I presumed was Renton
Yeah,
High.
so exactly. So the
Yeah,
RDHY is how Ayer calls the Rendanheyi. The
got it.
pronunciation of the Rendanheyi is not that easy, and it's a long name,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
came up with it. So yes, RDHI is Rendanheyi, and again, it means that every employee is empowered to co-create value and share value with every customer. It's they call it a zero distance model. And this is not just, rhetoric. It's zero distance because you get paid by your own customer. The VAM means valuation adjustment mechanism. It's a bet on contract. So it's a contract through which the organization, specifically the industry platforms, invest in a new idea, in a new micro enterprise, like a VC will do after a successful pitch. And the VM has many of the ingredients I was discussing before. So it's a contract about the conditions and the goals that you want to have when becoming the leader of a new micro enterprise. And this is an ongoing portfolio management process through which new ideas pop up. Some of them grow and evolve. Some of them die, and some of them even become unicorns. At least in the case of Hire.
Okay, understood. Yeah, that helps. I think one more question had come in. Just give me a second. Yeah.
Thanks for all the
So,
questions. So
yeah, really, thank you for all the questions. It keeps us also motivated to, take all of your questions and answer any, query you might have. So, Andrea asked, so I hope I'm pronouncing his name correct. So, how does each ME contribute to the existence of the whole thing at the most infrastructural level? And is there any form of internal taxation on revenue, so to speak, to cover that is the universal basic income?
I think this is Andreas. So
Yeah.
Andreas is one of those with experience about the Rendanheyi and those mixing the Rendanheyi with other models, such as Agile. So there are some aspects of the Rendanheyi for which, let me say again, there is no best answer. I think the some micro enterprises, many in the case of Hire, are really infrastructure. So again, they are what they call the node micro enterprises, but also the SSPs are enablers for their colleagues, especially customer-facing colleagues, to get their work done. So this is an important aspect. It could be logistics, or it could be, I don't know, somebody doing some printing services, or somebody doing, I don't know, some research for some benchmarking for the others. These services are important, and this is a big difference with other models. The same principles apply also to those colleagues that so far have been very distant from the market. Now everybody is exposed directly or a bit less directly, but with very concrete consequences to the market. And the question, of course, is how do you pay them, right? So the question is, taxation question is, how do you pay them? Because as in many other places in organization design, you have a trade-off. Are you going to guarantee a budget to them so that take HR? Of course, we want to have HR capabilities. So are we going to take a cut of the revenues from customer-facing teams and put this money on the HR budget and tell them, oh, don't worry, you're going to get the money for this year? Or no, at the beginning of the year, there is no HR. When we get money, we're going to get HR. It depends, but usually I would say that there are some common standard services that you want to guarantee into the firm, and which services, it depends on the maturity of the organization. If you're a small organization, maybe you don't need a big HR team. If you get bigger, maybe you need it. But even in this case, the HR team should, let me say, justify the value it generates to their internal clients. So instead of being paid only for, recruiting people, maybe you are going to be paid because the people you recruited are going to contribute to 10 million of sales. You're going to get a profit sharing on that, not just the costs of your services. So in the case of HR, if HR joins an EMC, what happens is that often you're going to allocate a bit of budget to guarantee minimal services to HR, but then you're going to push HR to collaborate with others and to get a share of the value of the profit they generate with others. And believe me, this is tough because it's totally the opposite of what has happened in the last 100 years. So it's usually a balance of the different ingredients that you have. The goal is never to dismantle the core of the organization. We are not talking about a fully distributed organization. We are talking about ways to decide where you want to centralize and where you want to decentralize. Because especially if we are thinking about large organizations, you still need a bit of consistency and a bit of scalability. You don't want to reinvent the wheel every time, everywhere.
Got it. Yeah. Um, I think Ash, right? If I'm not wrong, I think you have a full name. I'm not sure. I'm going by the LinkedIn name. So he had asked a question earlier on what RDH means, but I think what he meant, he corrected the comment as well, that what does the word Rendenhai literally mean? So I think that's what he wanted to know.
So it's three parts: Ren, Dan. I think it's for AE, and again they came up with it, so it doesn't exist even in Chinese. But the meaning is that you have an employee, you have a customer, and you have a connection between them. That's the meaning. Let's say it cannot be translated because it doesn't exist even in Chinese. But
Yeah.
let's say the idea is every employee will collaborate with every customer to
Mm-hmm.
create and share value together.
Yeah, I think that helps. Even I've always wondered what it means, and because it's such a hard word to pronounce, I think it gets a bit muddled. So this helps. I think we have a couple of more minutes, so we have two questions pending from the live. So I'll maybe quickly ask the two as well.
Please.
So one of it, which I think is really interesting, is what is the difference between, let's say, adopting Rendenhai versus maybe partnering with a big four consulting partnership. So could, let's say, EY also be assisting in RDH? I think I got that question right. So if not, it
Yeah.
could
So
elaborate.
the process, it's not a top-down process. I come from the usual suspects in consulting. They usually talk about a TOM, a target operating model. Well, there is no target here. You don't know what's the model here. There is no endpoint. It's an ongoing journey of experimentation, and the framework is not imposed from the top. Actually, it emerges from experimentation. So what we can help you with is to understand the questions, to understand the dimensions that you need to address, to give you examples of how those questions have been answered in different places. But at the end, the conclusion will be a movie more than just a frame, so an ongoing picture with specific answers to those questions that we know of. And the second big difference is that this cannot be done in a small room with the CEO and a few executives. This is to be designed by the company itself. We use an approach called all-scale change, coming from socio-technical systems, and the approach, it's about picking a microcosm of the organization. So it's about picking the smallest representative unit of all the complexity and diversity of the organization. So this microcosm is going to be the representative of the organization, and they're going to take ownership in answering those questions and in launching those pilots. And the model will emerge by looking at the results of those pilots and lessons learned from those pilots. That's exactly the opposite of what a traditional consulting company will do. They will come there, do a bit of benchmarking, tell you the solution, pat on the shoulder, good luck, do it. Well, that's not what we want to do. We want to be with you, experimenting with you, learning with you, tweaking with you, and empowering you to keep going without us.
Got it. And one of I think the last question that we have, um, so are BAMs documented by smart contracts? Some points on that.
So, yeah, thank you. This is something I didn't cover. Of course, there is a connection between the Rendanheyi and DAOs, distributed autonomous organizations. They're not the same, but the goal is, in both cases, to reduce bureaucracy, to automate much of the contracting, the negotiation, the value sharing in the firm. In the case of hire, EMC contracts are smart contracts, so they are encoded in a blockchain, and and the value, once the goal has been reached, gets distributed automatically among all the participating micro enterprises. And in Boundaryless, we are building the software for the rest of the world. For sure, after a certain point, a certain threshold, you need to have software to support all of this. You need software to store the agreements. You need software to enforce the agreements. You need software to, for example, employees are not allocated to micro enterprises by a central HR function. Employees decide what micro enterprises to join. So they need to find those opportunities, and there is a system and there is a mechanism called order bidding. So when I create a new micro enterprise, I put an order in the system and say, I would like to get these competencies. Or when I create a new EMC, I would like to get these services. And colleagues or micro enterprises will bid, so will provide, they will suggest their services into the system. And then the micro enterprise leader, the EMC leader, will decide which colleague or which micro enterprise is a best fit for this opportunity, will negotiate the conditions. All of that requires technology to scale if you think about thousands or tens of thousands of people and thousands of micro enterprises.
Got it. Thank you. So, I think that's most of the questions. I can see one more comment. Let me just try loading it. Give me a second.
Sure. And of course, I hope to see some of you into the masterclass, not just because
Yeah.
we want to sell the masterclass, but because every time that people join the masterclass, something magic happens. So we see people getting out
Mm-hmm.
from the masterclass with the energy and with the will to evolve their own organizations, to experiment with some of these ideas and to change the world. So we want to see some of that, and we want to be part of that.
Yeah, definitely. So, sorry, I'm not. Yeah, okay, I can read it. Yeah. So I think I maybe paraphrased Ash's question earlier. Sorry about that. So what he was asking was the question wasn't about partnering with a Big Four consultancy, but the difference in the partnership model of a Big Four consultancy versus a RDH organization.
Okay. So it depends on the consulting company, but the consulting company is really about partners. So partners are owners, and
Mm-hmm.
people usually belong to them. Well, that's not the case
Mm-hmm.
in the Rendanheyi. The Rendanheyi, at its core customers, the micro enterprise represents a job to be done, a need of the customer. The team, not the owner, is together with the owner, let's say, the unit, the basic unit of the micro enterprise. The team will get the value, and the value is ecosystemic. So every time you create a micro enterprise, the goal is not to generate value for yourself as a partner or as an owner. It's at the same time generating value for the team and generating value for the system. So in the VAM, concretely, you will need to write what kind of value you're going to generate for hire, or you're going to generate for the company, or you're going to generate for the supplier, or you're going to generate for customers. And it shouldn't be financial value. It could be knowledge, it could be access to the market, it could be learning, it could be new product, it could be whatever, even intangible value. So the focus is not only in pleasing and maximizing the returns for an owner of the firm. Actually, the leader of a micro enterprise may not be an owner, technically speaking, it could become, but not necessarily. It's about the rainforest, how Chairman John Green would say. So the goal is recognizing that an empire, a robust, big organization, even a partnership, will eventually collapse because it's too rigid. In this space, in this world, in this time, we need a rainforest. We need an ecosystem of trees in which some trees may die, but the ecosystem will survive forever. So it's about empowering, creating the conditions for new trees to, to become bigger, to live and to do their own thing into the forest. So that's why this is, yes, entrepreneurial, but it's also ecosystemic. So it's about the rest of the tree, and it's enabling. So it means that we are going to apply the same concepts also to support functions. So everybody is going to contribute and benefit from it, not just partners.
Got it. Thank you. So I think that was the last question that we had. So thank you so much, firstly, everyone, for asking in your questions and engaging with both of us as well. That's really, motivating for us to know as well. Um, what I will do is I will also link all of the registration link, the discount code, and so on. I will put that in the comment section. And additionally, we will also have more information on our page that keeps coming up on all our socials, be it LinkedIn, Twitter. You can follow us there as well. Emmanuel, thank you for joining in today. In case I've missed any point, if you'd like to cover as well, you can add on.
No, I think very good. I want to thank you and thanks everybody for being with us. Again, I hope
Yeah.
to see you at the masterclass, and we share also the link to the new article that has been published yesterday about safe and
Yeah.
Rendanheyi. And we are going to also write soon about the safe and viable system model. So that's another approach from Stafford Beard that is getting revived, let's say, into the
Mhm.
business.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining, and hope I was able to take all of the questions. In case there are more, please do reach out to us. We'd be happy to answer. I think Emmanuel, has been kind enough to answer a lot of our questions today. So for sure, please do keep them coming as well. Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you.